No cameras, no aides, no palace staff. Two of the most powerful women in the modern monarchy were locked inside a private chamber for more than 2 hours. What began as a quiet conversation soon turned into a declaration that could reshape royal power forever. Why now? What pushed Catherine and Sophie to act? And what exactly were they trying to dismantle? For weeks, whispers had circulated through palace corridors, but no one expected events to move this quickly or this quietly. On a cold afternoon, everything changed. Catherine arrived first, her car discreet and unannounced, without the usual security detail. Minutes later, Sophie entered, calm, focused, and equally silent. No greetings from staff. No aides waiting nearby. The chamber door closed from the inside. No schedule listed the meeting, no assistant recorded it. Officially, it never existed, making the moment even more dangerous. Behind those doors, a silent pact was forming. Recent months had placed growing pressure on both women. Camilla's expanding influence over palace procedures had become impossible to ignore, especially after her unexpected presence in key advisory discussions. Catherine had quietly withdrawn from several meetings, while Sophie, long known as a loyal and discreet royal figure, had begun to question the increasingly rigid style of control. When the two women finally came together, they shared a single objective: to shift the balance of power before internal tensions fractured the crown. Palace insiders later suggested the meeting had been weeks in the making. Sophie had even received quiet guidance from Princess Anne, a steadfast guardian of royal tradition, who hinted that she would recognize the right moment when it arrived. That moment had come. Following King Charles's recent health crisis, uncertainty gripped the nation. Both women understood that waiting would only allow Camilla's influence to tighten further. Acting now, they believed, might be the only way to change the monarchy from within. Instead of fury, the discourse started with truth. Two voices that had been silenced for too long suddenly voiced the fury, betrayals, and quiet conflict simmering beneath polished tiaras and diplomatic smiles. The enigma is compounded by the lack of recorded conversations, but what followed was unavoidable. After the door reopened, both women emerged calmly despite the storm they had caused. Aides looked concerned as Catherine called her personal secretary directly. Sophie headed to the East Wing, where Camilla had unchecked power. Something had changed, and even the ignorant could sense it. The countdown had begun before the Queen Consort knew what had happened. What happened in that soundproofed room, and why did it shake the monarchy within minutes? Palace sources said the meeting was groundbreaking and passionate. Sophie, shaky but determined; Catherine, firm yet steely. A deal that neither had spoken of previously was formed. That arrangement had one deadly goal: to permanently destroy Camilla's influence. This was never meant to be public, but the fallout made it difficult to hide. Catherine, known for her demeanor, kept quiet. But what she said in that fateful discussion shattered Camilla's years-long foundation. She allegedly delivered a classified briefing with reports, testimony, and discrepancies on Camilla's increasing manipulation of palace dynamics. Every page told the same scenario, from important staff dismissals to event protocol redirections and press access plans. Camilla advised and ruled. Catherine had receipts. Sophie sat silently at first, but as Catherine dug deeper, her countenance changed from shock to grim understanding, and Sophie voiced her truth for the first time in years. The reality she hid under devotion, etiquette, and terror. She revealed her long-held concerns about Camilla's overreach and how she felt intentionally shut out. Camilla would restate and advocate her ideas in private meetings, she recalled. She confided in Catherine, detailing sad instances when her daughter, Lady Louise, was gently excluded from activities she had been promised to attend. Not only exclusion, but also orchestration. Sophie could no longer deny it. In that emotional fire, an unspoken union formed. Instead of flames, they used trust, sadness, and a growing feeling of duty to save the monarchy from quiet tyranny. A genuine conversation became a strategy. They didn't need to scream to revolutionize, just perform. A conversation. What power did official mechanisms have? They could proceed how far without causing public chaos? What levers were unaffected by Camilla? When Anne was mentioned, it was subtle but seismic. Sophie nodded, understanding instantly. Anne anticipated this. Now it was their job to finish what she couldn't. Catherine took out a paper before leaving. She proceeded to write a statement meant to be a weapon of truth. Should Camilla fight this? She reportedly folded the paper 3 times, sealed it with wax, and locked it in a drawer only she and William could access. A document was a line in the sand. Crossing a royal threshold was permanent. Their idea had become real. Camilla's peaceful rule ended with resolve, evidence, and pain-forged solidarity. The question became how and who would help them bring Camilla down from within as this alliance developed. Though sworn to secrecy, palace passageways have always heard. Aides, housekeepers, and security personnel noticed alterations, doors left ajar, conversations behind tapestries, and one slip-up or whispered name would alert Camilla to her confinement. After Sophie and Catherine's private meeting, the silence was nearly believable. Something was odd for palace residents and workers. Security was carefully altered, routine movements were disturbed, and critical staff were moved. A quiet talk between 2 senior aides outside the library mentioned the Windsor Clause, a word never in formal protocol but with concealed power. Though they pretended not to, those who heard it remembered. In particular, when Camilla's most trusted lady-in-waiting, who had served her for almost a decade, was abruptly transferred to Sandringham without explanation within hours. The palace has a delicate hierarchy and history, thus Prince Edward's personal guard hand-delivering a royal crest-marked document raised eyebrows. In particular, since the courier skirted royal handlers and proceeded directly to Catherine's newly relocated office in the private wing. None of those who noticed spoke up, but the transformation was obvious. Not chatter, but caution, in those golden halls where tea is as ubiquitous as talk. Princess Anne was told and accepted Catherine and Sophie's alliance in writing weeks before the encounter, according to rumors. A deliberate action that demonstrated this wasn't a rebellion, but a long-term strategy. Text messages leaked anonymously to a restricted group of royal correspondents destroyed secrecy. Coded talks between senior aides referenced CNC ending her hold. Initials were detected. Catherine and Sophie were establishing a crown created in silent revolt and justified by years of private hatred. Even though Camilla was queen consort, unexpectedly, a junior equerry who had faithfully served Camilla disappeared from royal records. No exit or relocation statement. Just gone. Insiders felt he gave the Catherine-Sophie alliance crucial Camilla secret information. Despite his seeming loyalty, his conscience cost him. Electric tension filled the palace. Every look and movement was a query or communication. The crew was educated to serve without comment, yet power was shifting quickly. Camilla sensed it, her instructions were questioned, and her palace routes were gently altered. Others who once answered quickly began to delay, which is rebellion in a ritualistic household. She realized she was surrounded by silence, which was more painful than confrontation. Camilla, ever shrewd, didn't let her reign fall gently. She struck back fiercely. Camilla moved when cornered, but not defeated. Late-night calls, hidden threats, and a desperate plea to King Charles. The queen consort declared war. She didn't understand the palace tide had changed. Camilla sensed something was unraveling quickly after the Catherine-Sophie partnership. Her quiet was orchestrated, not ignorant. Her response was control, which she knew best. Her initial reaction was sway, fit and crisp. She twice requested an emergency meeting with Charles, invoking her title, right, and closeness. Her requests were delayed for unknown reasons twice. The king's crew unexpectedly informed her that he was unreachable till further notice. Silence and denial were louder than royal decrees. Camilla resorted to blood and desperation. She contacted Anne to play the sister-in-law card and remind her of their long-standing friendship, or so she thought. Anne, now supporting Catherine and Sophie, refused to negotiate. Insiders described her statements as sharp. "Your time has passed." Camilla gasped. The royal she considered too loyal to turn had closed the door. Camilla took action to be heard. She wrote a classified memorandum reaffirming her status in the monarchy's Strategic Advisory Council. She highlighted her continuous control over ceremonial activities, staff oversight, and Charles's itinerary. The message was meant to silently circulate among palace leaders. Never past the private secretary's desk. One royal attendant marked it unendorsed and returned it without remark. Camilla went crazy after that gentle rejection. Over the next 48 hours, her icy, controlled demeanor grew volatile. Multiple aides reported inconsistent directions and unexpected firings of longtime employees. Camilla was disintegrating, and the palace watched. She boldly responded, "Contact Princess Beatrice, whom she thought may be influenced by the offer of favor and influence." An insider captured the brief call, which leaked instantly. Camilla accused Sophie of poisoning Anne's allegiance and called Catherine dangerous in the tape. The damage was done. Her most daring play followed. Camilla raged and threatened to fire Catherine's longtime advisor from palace duties. For over a decade, he had supported Catherine quietly. Camilla's admonition was forceful, yet it never connected. A silent firewall against power abuses was in place after Princess Anne reformed internal etiquette. Camilla's threat failed and revealed her desperation. Camilla fought to reclaim control, but Charles' one move would defeat her. He didn't need to speak. After Charles gave Catherine the sealed package, palace onlookers understood everything had changed. It was the king's quietest and loudest decision. Behind that paper, a signature, seal, and future without Camilla's consent. In the silence after Camilla's unsuccessful counteroffensive, the monarchy was one tremor away from disintegration. King Charles, fragile in health and resolve, was forced into a decision he had avoided for years. His physical condition had worsened in recent weeks, and whispers of a restricted schedule and reliance on William had already begun. His literal and symbolic crown hold was slipping. Catherine entered that space with evidence, not emotion, but clarity. She presented the document from that fateful meeting with Sophie. Facts were presented to the king, not accusations or pleas. At that time, Charles understood. No questions. He didn't argue. He read quietly while Prince Edward stood close, silent but forceful, declaring unity behind this move. Edward's comments rang true when Charles looked up. Time. A pen stroke followed, not royal pomp or spectacle, a royal decree signed secretly. The document formalized Queen Camilla's withdrawal from palace housekeeping concerns, revocation of advisory input, monarch's direct line staff oversight, realignment of ceremonial responsibilities. The language was clear. Though it didn't name Camilla, everyone in the room knew who it targeted. Catherine received the signed and sealed envelope without ceremony and nodded, ending the moment. Charles, weary, pale, and emotionally exhausted, mumbled the unexpected words as she left. From a monarch, can't fight anymore. No official announcement was made. It was never intended. Instead, it was fragmented and sent to a restricted group of aides, then to trusted press sources. A whispered line in a royal restructuring piece. That was enough. Enough for system employees to organize the shift. Camilla's calls and demands were screened. She retained her titles, but lost her authority in assigning. One person knew about the storm before it hit. Someone whose pride had been injured and whose rage would shortly unleash a palace unprecedented response. The tabloids hadn't reported it. But one person knew, and her rage would cause a storm. Breaking glass echoed around Clarence's house. Camilla, red-eyed and enraged, demanded access to every file, phone call, and regal control she imagined she possessed. But she was too late, and her next move shocked even her closest allies. Charles's stillness, his hallmark, seemed to incite her violence. She controlled appearances, influence, and narratives from behind velvet curtains for months. Her world fell apart with one sealed decree. Witnesses say the queen consort's rage that day was unprecedented in the palace. She raced into her office and yelled, slamming drawers, smashing documents, and demanding everyone leave before slumping into her chair in astonishment. However, her rage was calculated. She asked her personal legal team to investigate the decree's legality within an hour. She wanted every clause, signature, and loophole checked. No way was open. The paper they described was royally sealed, witnessed, countersigned, and backed by the monarch. Camilla, unable to accept defeat, made one more attempt to reach Charles in private, away from Catherine, advisors, and judgment. Her request was blocked. A senior royal assistant employed by William Days previously sweetly but firmly told her that His Majesty was resting and not to disturb him. Instead of denial, it was a barrier, an assertion. The king's door closed. Camilla searched for her only ally, her daughter Laura Lopez, in desperation. According to an insider leak, the call was sad and frantic. Camilla purportedly described betrayal, silent ambushes, and losing everything she'd gained. Camilla stopped mid-sentence and muttered, "They want me gone," in the call, which an anonymous staffer recorded. "They've always wanted me gone." The Queen Consort unraveled further. In a furious letter, she accused Princess Anne of plotting the coup and breaking their long-pretended sisterhood. But the letter never arrived. Palace correspondence intercepted for provocative content. It was restricted internal records. Anne never replied, so Camilla never knew if she read it. Silence hurt more than a response. Next came the breaking point. A staff member saw Camilla late at night, crying silently beneath a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II in one of Clarence House's side galleries. Camilla wasn't a queen in that quiet moment. The same queen she had spent years trying to please and who had privately warned Charles, she may wear the crown, but she will never hold the people. She was aimless, watching a legacy fade. Just as Camilla's fury threatened to escalate, Catherine took an unexpected action that solidified her new status. She didn't boast. Catherine acted. After Camilla's absence, palace decisions were made by a skilled, graceful, and unobtrusive leader. In all but name, a clandestine insurrection had crowned a queen. Camilla's fall left a short leadership vacuum. With Charles in convalescence and the monarchy on the brink, a decision was made quietly but clearly. Catherine became the royal matriarch, not merely the Princess of Wales. Her signature appeared silently on official messages, timetables, and royal circulars, starting with minor reassignments. The press office's weekly agenda showed that Catherine was now in charge of all monarchy operations, from ceremonial events to family briefings. The Queen Consort was unnamed. Sophie was now a silent force of order beside her. She served as an unofficial royal coordinator, managing logistics, reconciling departments once separated by Camilla, and implementing Catherine's orders like a seasoned stateswoman. The two women changed the palace's atmosphere. Fear was replaced by clarity and concealment by structure. However, no announcement or spectacle occurred. Their power move wasn't aesthetic, about endurance. An internal communication to senior royal advisors and agency heads verified many suspicions. Catherine became the major counsel for family protocol and internal concerns, a position Camilla had held privately. It carried the implicit approbation of more than circumstance this time. Anne gave Catherine a handwritten letter, sealed and preserved in the royal vault, indicating her support for her new post, sources said. "The future rests in steady hands," the letter began, and even those on the margins of authority felt the shift. Catherine entered Queen Elizabeth's erstwhile private chapel anonymously, contemplating. Even though no workers or journalists were present, news spread. That image, more than any story, convinced the audience this wasn't just a power shift. The rising of a future sovereign was quiet. Outside the gates, support grew. Formerly cautious tabloids published bolder headlines. Queen in waiting, Catherine assumes national leadership. The approval rate rose. Even old critics liked her dignity and discipline. Whispers still filled palace hallways like smoke before a fire as the kingdom adjusted to this new reality. Because one truth remained hidden, Camilla had just been shifted, and her quiet may yet break. While Catherine advances, is Camilla's reign over or the start of a darker royal war? The monarchy is established on loyalty, legacy, and silence, broken at the appropriate time, not gold or titles. With Camilla's power discreetly removed and Catherine's influence cemented, the royal family confronts a turning point that might mend or exacerbate the wounds forever. Murmurs increased outside palace walls after Catherine and Sophie's silent revolution. Quiet recognition was becoming public. Newspapers that once avoided succession increasingly speculated about the crown's destiny. When, not if, Catherine would step beyond Princess of Wales. Formalizing her authority was now addressed in measured, calculated tones behind palace gates. Courtiers who formerly reported to Camilla now sought Catherine's approval. Her leadership was practical and unquestionable. William was alleged to have taken actions privately. Sources say he and Prince George I discussed tradition, duty, and legacy. George was briefed on new family responsibilities, despite his youth. There were no titles or promises, but insiders said the shift was evident preparation had begun. For the first time in decades, the monarchy was thinking 3 generations forward, and Catherine was its center. Camilla survived in name. While her title of queen consort was never abolished, her power was gone. Invitations ended. Her office, once busy, was silent. She only attended essential public occasions, and her attendance was symbolic rather than substantial. A small team of royal legal experts was writing a changeover protocol. This wasn't surrender. It wasn't exile. It was preparing for a popular shift in representation that would allow Catherine to take on more responsibility without a constitutional crisis. Every line of the proposal was weighed, every clause balanced respect and reform. Queen Elizabeth's old private secretary was asked back for personal meetings with Catherine, surprising even the most seasoned insiders. His homecoming showed that the royal family was preparing for regeneration, not only responding to disaster. People who had served a late queen knew continuity well, and Catherine was getting that wisdom. A silent torch was passed strategically, not ceremonially. Public opinion paralleled palace changes. The Catherine-Sophie leadership duo received record approval. Polls showed that the public supported Catherine's calm, collected steadiness, and Sophie's unwavering allegiance. They redefined modern royal leadership as less about show and more about substance, inheritance, and merit. Despite triumph, concerns lingered. The crown wasn't ready to speak. Was Camilla satisfied in silence, or was a tempest brewing under her calm exterior? Would Charles discuss the stealthy coup that changed his court? Most importantly, would the monarchy, so torn by rivalry and betrayal, finally find peace? Or was this only the prelude to a harsher reckoning? No ordinary gathering. This was a reckoning. The next British king may be shaped by that assessment.